Hey guys, this is Oculin or Oculin or Benjamin Yoder, whatever you want to call me, the guy who writes up on the gaming blog. But today I'm not writing, or well, I did write an article earlier, but right now I am not writing. Today I'm using my voice, vocal communication, to talk to you. And what do I want to talk about? Well, that's a good question, and I have an answer. The answer is Nintendo's 2011 World event that they just did in Japan, where they showcased the Nintendo 3DS. And thanks to Cosmoid who covered it, because at first I wasn't going to cover it because I thought nothing would come out of it. But apparently I was horribly wrong. So what I wanted to talk about was Nintendo's first party titles that they kind of set a general release list for. And these titles, while they're not coming right away, they're coming pretty close to the launch of 3DS, at least around a few months after for some of them and maybe longer for some others. But really, I'm not talking about stuff like Paper Mario, Animal Crossing, Mario Kart. That stuff is way out there right now. I highly doubt we'll see those within the near future. Maybe holiday 2011? Maybe. Maybe. But right now, I want to talk about the titles that are coming out soon or at launch for the system, and how I'm actually kind of disappointed in the launch lineup Nintendo has for the system. And really, the only title right now that I think really looks interesting is Kid Icarus. Kid Icarus is actually a lot like a third-person shooter, which is kind of strange. It isn't exactly how I imagine Nintendo bringing Kid Icarus back. And then at actual launch in Japan, we have Nintendogs plus Cats. And while I'm not gonna say it's gonna be bad. I'm sure it's gonna be a good game. I think it'll be well built, high production values, and everything. But it's just not really the title that I think a lot of people who are waiting for 3DS are looking for. And then there's the other title, Steel Diver, which is pretty much a DS game brought over to the 3DS, which is Nintendo keeps kind of mentioning it during their press conferences, and then they're just kind of like, yeah, it's coming, eventually. And then of course the big ones I'm sure many of you are looking forward to is Ocarina of Time and Star Fox 64 in the 3DS. My biggest problem with this release of these titles is, at least in the information we're getting so far, which isn't much, so I could be completely wrong on this. They just don't look like they're that much an improvement over the originals. Yeah, there's the all new visual style, but if you like, I guess Nintendo's not really talking, but as of right now, it doesn't sound like they're adding really much. And if you look at the video for stuff like Zelda and Star Fox, it doesn't really look like a whole revamped visual. It doesn't really look like it's been completely remade visually. It looks like a lot of it's left intact as it was on the 64. And if I want to play the game with 64 graphics, I take out my 64. Not saying the game looks like a 64 game, because look at the updated character models for Link, look at the updated character models for some enemies. It's just the environments are very blocky still, and if you look at a lot of the NPC character models, they look pretty much identical to their original models. And really, that's the biggest problem I have with those titles. I'm sure many of you are looking forward to them, but just not really catching like I think it was. And honestly, the 3DS launch kind of reminds me of the DS's launch, where it didn't really have that strong of a library at the start. And I guess this is true for most launches, but I think the DS was even more so. And really, until Mario Kart DS came out, I feel like there's always that massive gap between releases on the DS until, of course, it exploded. Now there's so many games you can't even keep up with it. But on the bright side, the 3DS does have third-party support. Specifically, Capcom's titles look great with Resident Evil Mercenaries and Super Street Fighter 3DS. Visually, they both look great at the very least. But yeah, that was my biggest concern. Is just they launch a new system, and there's not really that much good-looking software for it, at least from a first-party Nintendo perspective. But I'm sure it's the 3DS is going to be massive. It's going to be popular. It's going to sell whether there's software or not. I have my pre-order already, which is terrible because I'm like, I don't even want any of these games, but I'm pre-ordering it because, yeah, that's no good. So thanks guys for tuning in and listening to what I had to say about Nintendo's 3DS lineup. If you want to discuss below, down there, there's a comment thing, and it's magical because you can type text in and then you can say things to me. It makes me feel better. So thanks again. Ciao. I want to talk about Nintendo.